Hi, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
How are you, Brian?
I'm good. How about yourself?
I'm good. Thank you for asking. Could always be worse, right?
Suppose that's true.
I know it's a low bar, I realize. Let's see. Richard, I see you're signed in twice. Richard, are you there?
Yes. I don't.
Okay, great.
That sounds bad.
Okay.
Hey, Randy, can you hear me? My reception's kind of shoddy.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks, Adam. I can hear you. Okay, you even have a quorum? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I guess we do, right?
Yes.
Oh, we do. That's Richard Adams, I believe. I see a hand up. The 018. I never remember. Is that Richard? Is that you?
It's Barry, who I think you think is Richard.
Yeah, sorry, Barry. I always, for some reason, it's like a mental block. I never remember which last 3 digits are at Richard Adams. Okay, perfect. You have a hand up. Was there something you wanted to say before we get this show on the road? Nope. Okay, great. Hi, Lana.
Hello.
Okay, so let's Alexa at your and Nancy's going to be late. Rajuka is likely not going to be here this evening, but we'll go through that. So let's, in light of the fact that there are stakeholders here and everyone else, let's kick things off. So Alexa, at your convenience, let's call the meeting's called to order at 7:02. We can have the roll call.
Richard Adams. Nope. Brian Carroll.
Here.
Michael.
Here.
Randy.
Here.
Alex. Nope. Mira. No. Raduca. No. Lisa.
Yes.
Nancy will be late. Richard.
Here.
Jesse. No.
I
Rick?
don't see him.
Here.
Lana.
Here.
Alexa. Here. Adam.
Here.
And Joseph.
Alexa, I'm here.
Oh,
Yeah,
Raduca, you're
Raduca's here,
Okay.
Jesse's here, and phone number in 008. Is that you, Richard Adams?
Yeah, it wouldn't let me unmute, but I'm here. Got here just about time you're calling the meeting to order.
Perfect. Thank you, Richard.
Great. Okay. So we've got 4 absences.
Great. Thank you. Approval of the November minutes without objection. Thank you very much. Moving right along. Update. Okay. So a few things.
Point of order, Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
We're approving the November minutes, and we just started a November meeting. I think that's a typo. We meant October.
You are absolutely 100%, and I didn't even realize it when I said it. You're correct. So correction.
I occasionally catch a fly.
Thank you. Approval of the October minutes. Without objection. Thanks. Okay, moving on to number 3, a few updates. Gosh, where to begin? So I'll start with the first, a few updates that relate to the board. Number 1, I received a phone call today from Joseph Tichy. He has moved to San Dimas, and he was had a business seat. And as he said, my business goes wherever I go. So he has not only moved his residence, he's moved his home to San Dimas. So he is no longer on the board. So that is a vacancy, which will need to be filled in the coming year. Number 1. Number 2, some of you may be aware, and forgive me for speaking about it for a moment. Some of you may be aware that this past Friday night, we had our Public Safety Committee meeting. And as many of you are aware, from time to time, our board is visited by those stakeholders that feel it appropriate to be as bombastic as possible, and say as many inappropriate things as possible. Unfortunately, the comments that were made Friday night, in my opinion, just crossed the line even further, if that's possible, in the vulgarity and in how explicitly inappropriate they were in a sexual manner towards a committee chair. And so, unfortunately, because of that, what I can only describe as bullying, in my opinion, Rachel Tobias is resigned as our Public Safety Committee chair. And she wishes everyone the best, but she has no time or interest in continuing in a community role when that's what she's going to get. So just in a public forum, I'm very thankful to her time and service to the SCNC, and I'm as a personal friend of hers as well, I'm just very upset and disappointed that this has happened. And we're exploring what, if any, options we really have to try to mitigate that from happening in the future. But I don't know, I'm not 100% confident that we'll have great success in on that front. So that's those are the 2. Other than that, in the month of December, we will go we will go dark. In the age of the pandemic, I think potentially we all could use a break to spend time with our loved ones, focus on our work, recharge our batteries, etc. So in the month of December, there will be no committee meetings and no board meeting. I appreciate the input that I've received from a number of committee chairs and board members on that subject, for those that have reached out. And the last thing is we are at a point where we have, believe it or not, already having to appoint the election of an election committee chair. This was something that was agendized last month, and I made mention of any volunteers. We have had to date 2 volunteers come forward, and after a fair amount of letting it, time to allow it to percolate, I am going to appoint Lisa Sarkin as our election committee chair for the 2021 NC election. There is an NC election form for the neighborhood council that we have to complete and approve. That form basically says, 1, who the committee chair is that I just appointed. 2, it says as a second contact would be me. The question which we can discuss will be where the ballot box is located, or a drop off, because the mail for the neighborhood council will be vote by mail. And you can have 1 location and an alternative. A number of locations were suggested. Some said the library, some said suggested Beeman Park. That was a suggestion from Richard Adams, which I thought was there's a parking lot. It's easy to get in there. There's not tons of traffic. Another option could be Walter Reed. So at the moment, the form says, I believe, Beaman Park and Walter Reed is a backup. And that requires our board action, a board approval. So I wonder if I should have agendized separately. Gibson, feel free to chime in. We need to file this, otherwise what happens is, and come to an agreement, otherwise the city clerk will decide all of this for us, at least in terms of location. So hopefully we can agree on a location and we can get this form completed. With that, I will first see if there is any public comment on that as it relates to item 3A, the RNC election form, appointment of Lisa Sarkin as our election committee chair, and location for the drop box being at Beaman Park or Walter Reed. So so if you have a public comment, please raise your hand. I see a number of hands, including Lisa's, that have gone up. Nancy Kramer is here. Hi, hello. You are now promoted to a panelist. Okay, so we'll start at the top.
Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
Quick question.
Yes, sir.
I thought you said the library was primary and then Walter Reed. Did I misunderstand?
No, you did not. I actually have said, you're right. I switched while I was talking about it. I don't necessarily have strong feelings either way. I think the library, Beaman, or Walter Reed could all be good choices. I would say at this point, let's hear from the public, and then I'd love to hear from all of you as to where you think the best location would be. So let's just get public comment out of the way. Michael,
Randy,
do you mind?
Can you put Mira on the panelist? She's in here. I don't see her.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. I apologize.
That's okay.
Yes.
No, that's okay. Thanks.
Can I, Michael DeLazar, can I trouble you to be the timekeeper? Michael?
Sorry, couldn't find my mute button. Yeah, yes, you may.
Okay, great. Okay, so perfect. So then we have some public comment. Public comment on this item 3A will be 2 minutes. So starting at the top, we have Barry with a hand up. Go ahead, Barry.
Yes, I just wanted to say, if you look at on our website, there is a map of our neighborhood council area. And I would just suggest that everyone look at that map. And Beaman is not in the center of that map at all. And I think since we have people all the way over at like Lankersham and Whipple and by the Campo de Cahuenga in that neighborhood and in the hills above that area, I think it should be, if we're only going to have one, it should be as close to the center of Studio City as possible. And I'm not saying what that is, but I think we should look at the map and choose something other than Beaman, because Beaman is pretty far west in our area. That's all.
Thanks, Barry. I'm going to lower your hand, Barry. Barry, I see you actually listed twice with a hand up. Okay, we have Melanie Winter. Go ahead.
I was wondering if there was any prohibition from having a drop box at the actual post office. If someplace goes go often, especially, they just do drive by and drop things off. Simple to do. Just a thought. Thanks. That's it.
Thank you. No, it's an interesting idea. My knee-jerk response is probably not, given that that's federal property, but I have no idea. Gibson, do you have any idea whether that would be an option?
I'm not too sure about that. I don't know.
Right. Okay, thanks. We have another comment. Oh, hold on. We have another comment by... okay.
Randy,
Lisa,
can you see if, sorry, go ahead. Actually,
Go
never
ahead.
mind.
No, go ahead.
Scratch that.
You sure?
No, I'm good. Yeah.
Okay. I see Lisa's hand up, so let's. Lisa, go ahead.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Yes, the post office, federal property, we couldn't do it there. Are we having 1 or 2 boxes? That's a confusion. And we've always had our elections at Walter Reed, and there's the best parking there of any place that I could think of. And there could be an area where you just pull up right in front of it. There's an island and a place where you can pull up right in front of the school and drop it in the box there. That's probably the best, and I think it's most really actually in the middle of everybody. Well, if you don't count all the way up to the top of the hill.
Right. Thank you, Lisa. Okay. Board comments. I see. First I see Richard Adams. Go ahead.
Yeah, I actually had my hand up for something else and we went past it, no big deal. Not only is the post office federal property and a no-go, it wouldn't be likely not ADA compliant, and anybody who drives by there almost any time of the normal day hours, there's a line to get into the parking lot, there's a line to get to the mailboxes, there's a line to get out of the parking lot. You know, Walter Reed isn't perfect for those of us who live out in the part of Studio Cit everybody thinks is Sherman Oaks. It's traumatizingly far, but Lisa Sarkin is absolutely right about the traffic circulation and the long driveway where you can get in between the island that separates the street from the drop-off area. It ain't perfect, but few things in life are. So I'm good with that. And then the library or Beeman would be an acceptable second place, because the city clerks can decide for themselves where a thing is going. But at least I'm not sure LAUSD gets an issue, but we've had so many elections there, it shouldn't be. But nothing's normal this year, so God only knows. But a city location as a fallback is a good idea.
Great, thanks.
That's all.
Thank you, Richard. Rick, Rick, go ahead.
On a con about the library, already has the ballot collection box for the presidential election sitting. It's still there and it's been there for weeks. So people might be a little bit used to that as a location. And the con is it's a busy intersection, the site of a fatal accident about 6 weeks ago. So.
Thank you. So I'm making a list here. So really we're talking about library, Walter Reed, and Beeman. Post office seems to be a no-go. Alexa, do you want to share with everyone the joke? No, I'm just kidding.
I'm
who do we have?
requesting to share a drink. This is the joke.
Nancy, go ahead.
I would like to reiterate what Rick just said. If I don't know, but if Walter Reed had a vote by mail drop-off box there, I think that'd be fantastic. That'd be a great place. But there is one at the library, and I think we should follow. I think that they want us to use those same boxes. I think that was the conversation back in September that they were trying to figure out. So I don't think it really matters. I think it's going to be wherever they tell us, and I think we put down 2 choices.
Okay.
And you can vote by mail, by the way. You can put it in your post office box.
Right, it's all vote by mail, right? Dropbox or by mail.
Anywhere.
Good. Okay, so thank you, Nancy, and then we'll just go. We have Lisa Karajian. Hi, hello, Lisa.
Hi, hello. I just want to say that since we've had our elections over at Walter Reed, that the community and the neighborhood is used to, the stakeholders are used to having it at Walter Reed. So I vote for Walter Reed.
Okay, and Lana Ford, you had your hand up.
Oh, yes. Hi. Do we know if it will only be one location?
I asked that.
I know.
Yeah,
I know. So
the form says one location, and then it asks you to list an alternate.
Oh, okay.
So it sounds like it will be only one.
Well, I wondered if Bridges Academy might be. I mean, it's across the street from the library. It could be a second one. It's sort of centralized as well on a strip. I don't know. I was just throwing that out since we mentioned schools and pros and cons or whatever. I'm not that familiar with it, but it's another place.
Sure. Okay. So let's my vote, I think, would be for, gosh, I mean, I feel like six to a dozen have to be other. I think maybe just list. Why don't we list the library first? And that, because I think there's something to be said that most recently we've all been voting. Many people dropped off their ballots there, so they know it. But then Lisa Paragian also makes a great point that everyone knows Walter Reed for the SNC election. All 150 people. Or 250, whatever the total number was in the
I
last
think
election.
Lisa made a really good point about the parking and the pull up and pull away, which I
That's
think is
true,
very
too.
valuable. You can't do that at the library.
And it is a busy
And you're
intersection.
right at that
Okay.
intersection.
Okay,
It's
so
not,
like I
it's not a
said,
good traffic situation.
like I said, let's do Walter Reed first.
Good choice. Good choice.
And we'll do, okay, so are we all, so we'll go Walter Reed as our first choice. The library will be our second choice. Lisa Sarkin will be the committee chair. Can we need board action. So oh, I just saw two hands go up. 1 second. Or no, that was someone just arriving. So let's, I guess if we can get a vote on this, on approval of this. Let's, all those in, I guess you do a roll call. Vote please.
Can you do roll call?
Yep.
Richard? Wait, what are we voting on? We're voting on
the approval that of the location of our
Walter Reed.
Yeah, and then the library is our second choice.
Okay. So then, Richard.
We're voting on that form, right? That you're completing.
On the form that we approved the
Right.
form, correct?
Yeah. Approve the form. Oh, so sorry.
Richard Adams. Hold on. Richard? Richard?
Okay, while we sort that out, can I skip Richard for now?
Yeah.
Okay. Brian?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Randy?
Yes.
Is Alex still not here?
Still not here.
No. Raduca?
Yes.
Lisa?
Yes, I agree.
Nancy?
Yes.
Richard?
Yes.
Jesse?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Lana?
Yes.
Alexa? Yes. Adam?
Yes.
Passes.
Okay. Thank you very much. And then the last announcement is, thought I actually had something to say, but now I already forgot. So we'll just, oh yes, no, now I remember, just kidding. The other community update, the other community update was that it appears that there is a COVID-19 outbreak. Hi, Alex. At the Sportsman's Lodge. It is very hard to get clear answers because both Ben Besley of Midwood Development is kind of being, I think not, I don't know, but I would say not totally forthright in his answers. But from what I understand from people that are inside of Sportsman's Lodge, they're on complete lockdown. They're not allowed. There's no entering. There's no leaving. They're not allowed to leave the premises. They're not allowed to leave their room. If they mingle with other people in other rooms, they could be subject to being kicked out. It also seems, according to people at Ralph's, there was no contact with them to let them know for purposes of contact tracing. So it just seems like there's a lot of questions, at least, and concern that I have, and kind of echoing the concern of stakeholders as to why we're, as a community, not getting the full story on what's happening at Project Roomkey, as these people are here, and we should hopefully know what's happening. It's not the end of the world, but if someone's sick and people have been out, I think, deserve to know for the purposes of contact tracing. So I encourage anyone who is concerned, they should contact the Department of Health for the county, and as well, reach out to our council office and find out, and Jessica will be speaking a little bit later. I don't know if she'll be able to speak to this. And see if we can get just some answers, just for the sake of and well-being of the community. And obviously, we wish anyone who has COVID-19 a speedy recovery. So with that, we will go to our public comments on non-agenda items. So if you have a public comment on a non-agenda item, please raise your hand now. Scott Mandel for, oh, sorry. Scott Mandel, go ahead. You have 2 minutes once you begin speaking.
Hi, everybody. Scott Mandel here. I just want to sort of add a little to what Randy just brought up about the COVID quarantine at Project Roomkey Sportsman's. I think maybe the board, the homeless committee, public safety committee, and anyone who is interested should do sort of what Randy said. But I also think we're overdue for a Project Roomkey public forum. It's been a month. A lot has changed based on possible extensions of the project and such. And I think it's time to have Chris and Ben answer some more questions as far as the community concerns, especially with this COVID quarantine lockdown that's going on. We all know they've been kind of slippery at best in answering questions. They really don't give straightforward answers. And I know we're dark in December, so if we can get this on the books, either from the board arranging it or from the homeless committee or public safety arranging it, that would be great. On another note, some of you may already know I created an interactive map listing the exact locations along with photos of all or almost all of the homeless encampments inside Studio City. And my thought is that this type of interactive map and the data I collected, I did it all by myself in just a couple hours. I think the board and many of the committees can use this type of data collection to show problems, concerns, good and bad, going on in Studio City. It's interactive. People can chime in. Our council office can chime in if certain areas are not under their jurisdiction. And we can give a lot of information to stakeholders and to committees as far as what's going on in Studio City. I see my time is just about up, so thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I see a hand up for Richard Adams, yes? Richard?
Richard is 18. I think 008 is somebody else.
It would not let me unmute. I actually had to hang up, dial back in, and the first time I hit *6 after you said something to me, it still wouldn't unmute. So I missed some of the comments, and you can put it down as a yes for approval of the election form.
Thank you.
You know, modern technology at its best.
18 is Barry.
Yeah, I was just going to say 18 is Barry, yeah.
Thank you.
And can I first just say it would be really helpful to see every board member on the screen, even if it's just their name with a black box, because I'm looking at 9 people and I don't know who else is participating. So as a stakeholder, I think it's important for us to know who's participating. Thank you. And I just wanted to bring up, 2 days ago, I found out that the city's public works department is planning to issue an RFP that would bring digital advertising screens 6.5 feet tall to every bus shelter in Los Angeles. And there has been absolutely no public input on this. And as many of you know, this neighborhood council has fought with many others around the city against digital billboards. Well, now we have digital mini billboards potentially at all our bus shelters. I attended a Zoom meeting last night with Scenic LA, which is used to be called the Band Billboard Light. Anyway, if anybody's interested, I've got you can send a letter that goes to like 12 different elected people, including Krikorian and the mayor, just demanding that there be public input for this before it goes any further. And you talk about driver distractions. We were worried with billboards up in the air, but these are way low, right down at street level. Thank you.
Thank you, Barry. We have public comment from Melanie Winter. Go ahead.
Apologies. I was looking at the CIS for that. My main comment, and many months ago, I think, Randy, it was your first board meeting, maybe your second. I requested that the neighborhood council website show the list of board members, but who is representing what? Kind of a basic. So who is a business, who is a renter, what board members are holding what seats? And I was told that was an easy fix and would be done. And that's 8 months ago at least, and it hasn't happened. And the website, as of this afternoon, you had to search for tonight's board meeting agenda. It wasn't on the front page. And I know we're paying for a person to keep our website up to date, but there's just a lot more attention needs to be paid. And I guess that's under outreach's purview, because that is one of our main outreach things. But gosh, I look at a lot of other neighborhood council websites and they're a lot more informative and easier to navigate and engaging, and something as simple as this board member represents this seat, I think is important, and I'd like to request that again. As to the thing Barry brought up, I had sent that over to Rachel because I thought public safety, but she wasn't able to make that meeting. There is a CIS available. I'd hoped that we could bring it to this board. But if it's not too late, if the conversation is still ongoing, perhaps in January we can, one committee or another, if not public safety, then Transpo can put forth that CIS. Barry, I'm sure you have a copy of this. Other NC's CIS is on that. It's an important issue. Thanks. That's it. Oh, sorry, one other thing quickly. I know we have an outbreak, but I haven't seen it spiking in the LA Times data as a huge outbreak. We're still at around 345 cases in Studio City. It hasn't seen a huge spike, so I don't think it's not like we haven't had any cases and now the homeless are infecting us or anything. So I just want to make sure we're keeping this in perspective. That's it.
Okay, seeing no other hands raised for, just make sure, for public comment. Public comments are closed on non-agenda items. Moving to number 5, announcements from government representatives. So Gibson Yambura, were there any announcements you had?
Yes, Mr. President, members of the board, hi everybody. Hope you guys are having a good Wednesday today. As mentioned, I am Gibson with the Department of Labor Empowerment. Just want to mention one or two things. In the monthly profile, we highlighted a couple of things. we discussed about the department administration about all city departments are being asked to undertake a mandatory 3% reduction in their budget, the department's operating budget for the fiscal year. And for a department that runs up to $84,000. And so the department is continuing to sort of make those cuts all across the board. And we will update you if there are going to be any changes in regards to staffing, especially staffing. Also, we definitely are letting folks know about board member removals. We want to make sure that everybody completes their training. As you know, it's required for NC board members. Once you join, you're required to do your NC your ethics, funding, and code of conduct. And so if you haven't completed your code of conduct, you will be getting a warning letter just to let you know that you may get suspended if you do not complete it. And we just want to make sure that everybody gets to complete that. In addition, we also, for planning and land use committees and committee chairs, we do have the continuing trainings. You should have, you'll be receiving an email. There'll be dates throughout November into December as well. So as is going to be the new requirement, if you're planning and land use chair or committee member, you will be required to take this training. It's just that you do it one time and it will be part of a requirement. The city council, so it's a policy that's being instituted to make sure that all participants, when it comes to issues of land use, understand it and have a good knowledge of the process and how it goes down. Also, you did receive an email from me with an amended and updated bylaws. That's from the city. The city council had voted on the youth age ordinance and also the community interest stakeholder. And so the department had to amend the bylaws to make sure that they are going to be usable for next year's elections. And that's why you'll see some of the changes that were instituted. This is just some of those things that came down from the city council once the ordinance was voted in, and that's why the department put them in. And with that, I don't have any other updates.
Thank you very much, Gibson. We have Jessica, if we can promote her to panelist. Let's see. Jessica?
Awesome. Hello. This is my
Hello.
screen. Okay, I'm using my new little headsets. So good evening, everybody. It has been a fun week. In terms of updates, Lorraine is back today, and I was able to confirm about Project Room Key. There is an individual who is residing in the hotel tested positive, and a staff member tested positive. So in accordance with the guidelines, they basically quarantine the entire hotel. They only need to, apparently, when you have to do contact tracing, the requirement stands that only if the person who was positive was in close proximity to someone for more than 15 minutes. It would have to be a specific person, not just somebody just walked through a store that day and then checked out. So if the time that you spend with someone is more than 15 minutes, that's the people that they would include to do contact tracing. And I don't have an answer yet. She was supposed to have a meeting with someone, and I don't have an answer yet to the one item that you asked me about the other day. As far as where the timeline is still the same. Let's see. Also, still doing slow streets. We are starting to open up the alfresco. So we extended the alfresco. It was approved in Studio Cit for Ventura Place. You will start seeing all that go up, if not by, I think, Friday. Today is Wednesday, yes, on Friday. So it will be on the north side of Ventura Place. So we're taking a traffic lane and a parking lane to help some of those restaurants that are right there in the corner. It's going to stop at Gangadin, the Indian restaurant, McConnell's, and Alfred's declined to participate in the program, so it will not. In other words, parking will not be blocked off. It'll end before then, so people will be able to park on that spot. Tahunga Village was also approved for for the program as well. It's only going to be taken up for part of the street because we don't want to take away parking from other businesses that are not restaurants. For those of you who are not aware, so the meters are 1 hour, and you can park in the neighborhood. So to the left, there is parking near the park on Woodbridge. That is permit parking. On the other side of, on the other side, there is no permanent parking. So it's very strange. Some of the streets have it and some don't. So just be mindful of the signs if you choose to go to one of those restaurants or establishments on Tahunga Village. There's supposed to be some sort of speeding enforcement. So if anyone has any questions or any requests about particular areas where there has been an uptick in racing, I know that was an issue, and I was working with LAPD to ask for some more enforcement in specific areas where I'm getting a lot of complaints on. A lot of it seems to take place late at night, is what I've been told. What else? My colleague Jackie has been working on the improvements on the utility boxes. So she's been working on that primarily in Valley Village, but I believe that was something we were talking about for the bid as well in Studio City. What else? Oh, and the alfresco dining that's taking place on Ventura Place, too many places, will be at least through the end of the year, most likely to February, and it might be extended to after that. So I'll keep everybody posted with the length of time for that. For the neighborhood traffic management plan, for those of you that do not get the newsletter, please let me know so I can register you to get that. The speed humps have already started to be installed, and that is the first step in implementation. The other items will continue for the next 6 months. So that's a good thing. It's still moving forward despite the significant budget cuts that we are only just now starting to feel. I'm getting quite a bit of requests for tree removals and tree trimming. Unfortunately, we do not have the budget for it. So any requests that are not deemed by urban forestry to be immediate hazards will not be removed or trimmed at least until June of next year. June 30th when the fiscal year ends. In our newsletter, actually, that just came out earlier this morning, council member announced who our veteran of the year was, an officer of LAPD, and the passing, of course, of Alex Trebek, who was a huge member of the community in Studio City, and he donated over $500,000 to one of our housing projects that exist in North Hollywood. If anybody's interested in actually viewing the property, I would ask that you either contact Randy Freed or C. Johnson, who is putting together a very small group of people who I will help get a tour of the facility of the Bridge Home. I think it's really great for people to see this because I think a lot of times people in their mind when they think of a homeless shelter, they think of Skid Row, and I cannot tell you how different this place looks. It is very nice. It is gender separated, and they have very strict rules, and it's a really great facility. So he's participated and he gave over $500,000 for that. We announced the construction, it's already underway, of our tiny home structures. It's not in Studio City, it's actually in North Hollywood, near the park, and we are basically going to be under construction now through February, and that will bring in 75 beds when it's all said and done in February. You'll see that on Chandler Boulevard, right by the park in North Hollywood. And that's one of the additional projects that we have going to house our homeless people. In particular, I want to emphasize that because when Project Room Key, when the contract ends, all these people will have to be relocated prior. So these are some of these projects is where they'll be relocated. It's not necessarily Studio City related, but we did install a hand washing station / water bottle station at the metro station near the red line. So if anybody takes that red line, that was added. And then last but not least, I want to kind of give a shout out to former board member, very long time board member of Studio City. She is running a Thanksgiving food box program on Saturday, November 21st from 11 to 3 at St. Paul's Lutheran Church at 4244 Tahunga Avenue. If you're interested in that, we had it in our newsletter. If you need more information, direct questions to Community Connections at St. Paul with an S, St. Paul's S, so plural, first.org. So Community Connections at stpaulsfirst.org. People will be asked to drive up wearing their masks. Walk up is an option, but people need to maintain 6 feet social distancing as well as wearing masks. And one more event that I'm working on this year. Every year our office hosts the holiday food and toy drive event. This year's event that I have now taken on is going to be a drive-through only. And we're going to ask for food and toy donations. The location will be at in Studio City, and it will be on Thursday, December 10th, 10 to noon. And this year we're partnering with Assemblymember Nazarian's office. I will have that flyer done in a few days, and I will send it along to everybody to include. We have a specific list of contacts that we usually do every year in terms of giving out the donations. I've expanded that to provide more donations for other organizations. In such a significant time of need for this kind of event. So again, that will be December 10th at Thursday, 10 a.m. to noon, partnering with Assemblymember Nazarian's office. So yeah, I think that covers
Great, thank you so
everything.
much. I think there's a
Yeah.
couple, I see a hand from Lana Ford and Adam Summer. Maybe I think if they had a question for you.
Sure.
Hi, well, I have a couple of things. Hey, Jessica. Actually, I wanted to piggyback a little bit where Gibson mentioned about the land use webinars and education series. I did participate in one of the series. It was very informative, and I believe they have some more. And there's a lot of information, and it goes very quickly. So those of you who haven't yet participated, just wanted to share that information. Jessica, might you be able to say anything to the rumor there might be a 3-week lockdown in all of our future? Have you heard any?
No.
updates
So
on that? Okay.
what the mayor does, and it makes complete sense. The county has the say. They have the scientists. They're the ones that oversee healthcare in general. We don't have like an actual funded department that handles that. So the city tends to take the lead from county and state. So right now, the County of Los Angeles basically announced yesterday that they're going to be doing a lockdown starting this Friday at 10 p.m. through 6 a.m., which means they are going to require restaurants and everything to close at 10 p.m. What I read was the sheriff has not been told to enforce it yet. So I'm sure that'll happen in the next week or so. If the city announces that, the mayor will call a press conference. And I get updates, not every week, but I'm sure that'll start changing soon to go back to every week from the mayor's office, where they will send out notice when that's going to happen. So I usually get it from their field deputies at 11 p.m. the night before they announce. So I will definitely forward that along to you guys if I hear anything. Right now, as it stands, the city is still on is still under emergency moratorium, meaning so for renters and people who own our commercial tenants. So there's still no evictions that are legally allowed to take place right now, and that hasn't changed for us. And we're still under the purple tier according to the state, and we've been under it for quite some time. We actually haven't gotten out of it. The governor just announced the other day that he's making other other counties join us. So I will definitely let you know the second I hear. But I tend to hear things a lot of things change, and I might hear them very last minute, and it could change within 24 hours. But I will let you know when I do.
Well, I appreciate it very much. And then one thing to Scott Mandel, your interactive map sounds like a very informative and useful tool. Have you considered sending it to Adrin Nassarian's office, possibly for their use, or contacting them with that information? And
I'm sorry, what interactive
for
tool?
Scott? No, I'm talking to Scott. That was directed to Scott Mandel. These are earlier. I had my hand up all along, but anyway, so that was for Scott. And then one thing that I've had on my mind since the passing of Alex Trebek was some way that we as a neighborhood council might think to recognize him as a longtime Studio City resident in some way, some kind of honor. I know he probably has a lot of them, but something that we would be able to establish, and I would maybe put that out to folks. Maybe even Michael might have some thoughts on something like that. So
he was a very big proponent of open space, and he lived in Fryman. So I would, you know, it's possible that I could help facilitate. I don't know if anybody is on the state is on the call, but MRCA runs, so the state runs the Fryman Canyon Park, so also known as Woolacre. It's possible maybe they can name a trail after him or something. That's not a bad idea.
That would be very delightful. Maybe we could have a ceremony or whatever. I was actually there that Friday night before. It was on the trail and walking past, in his neighborhood. So, yeah, sad. So thank you for letting me take up that much time, and I'm done.
No
Great,
problem.
thank you, Adam Summer.
Yeah, really quickly, this was for Gibson. I guess could somebody remind me the date of the election for neighborhood council? And then also, we need to get recertified, or we need to go through the trainings again if we're already an existing board member? So I guess if Randy, if you want to answer those, if you know.
I think our certification is, I think it's good for this term for 2 years. And then if anyone decides to run again and they win, then they'll have to take courses again to certify for the next 2 years.
So just to kind of add on to that, so the election day will be May 11th.
Okay. Oh, somewhere.
And I definitely know that we'll get notification. I'll let everybody know when the candidate filings open. I'm not too sure at the date right now. But my assessment is if you've served for 2 years after you've been elected, you do have to do the training again. But if you've been elected and you continue to stay on the board and your training hasn't expired, I don't think I think you'll be able to continue. But if I'm wrong, I'll send an email on that correction.
And Jessica, really quickly, since you're still on the call, what is MRCA? I know you referenced that, but I didn't know what that acronym was.
That's okay. It's a good question. The city and the state love their acronyms. It's Mountain Recreation Conservation Authority. Mountains Recreation Conservation Authority.
Okay, cool.
It's so much easier to say MRC. I know. They're the ones, so they have Fryman / Woolacre Park has its own park ranger, and they also have park rangers that will, and I know they're still doing it at this point, but I haven't followed up to see how many tickets they've given out recently, but they'll give out tickets to people who are not, for instance, wearing masks when they're hiking or whatnot, because I know that's a consistent complaint that I will send to them, and I also send to the state since they're the ones that actually oversee the park. We do not.
It's not part of the city or the county. It's a separate district, like a transit district, a school district, or something like that. They have their own taxing authority, so we can't tell the city to tell them what to do, or the county either. Thank you.
He is correct.
My last, just if you can check in with the councilman, I'm 99% sure you want to have an answer. The last time the councilman was with us in Studio City, I think actually live, or maybe it was virtual, pandemic, things seem to blend together. There was the ask of a stakeholder about promoting the issues of mental health around homelessness and awareness of the LPS Act of 67, et cetera. And the councilman said, absolutely, I'm happy to send an email out. I'm happy to inform stakeholders about this and help create greater awareness, because this is a state issue. And if we want to move the ball forward on some of these homelessness issues, that's a state level issue we have to address. So if perhaps by January, if you have an email, if you want to email me or whatever, I think stakeholders probably want and it's myself included, would want an update on where he's on where they might get added.
Let's you and I schedule a call.
No problem.
So we can touch base. He started to draft that letter and another one for me. So let's connect.
Okay, cool.
So we can get that.
Yeah, no worries. Cool.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful meeting and evening. I know you have to head off to another NC meeting.
Thank you guys, and thank you for your help, as always.
And happy holidays. We'll see you in January.
I raised my hand
You
for
too.
Jessica.
Oh,
Sorry,
Barry.
Barry. Go ahead, Barry.
Barry needs
Hi,
to call me
Jessica.
tomorrow. Hi, Barry.
Okay, but in regards to the utility boxes, the city asked us some years ago about those, and the Studio City Neighborhood Council voted a motion with the knowledge of the bid in the chamber that we did not want to participate in the program because we did not want bright colored utility boxes drawing attention and that would be graffitied. So your office would still have that motion. So just so you know, the board voted not to paint them.
Okay. Okay. I'll touch base with Jackie.
There's a hand up, Richard Adams.
My hand was up was something long ago and far away and utterly unimportant.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much for that. Seeing other hands. Have a great evening, Jessica.
Thank you. You too, guys.
Okay, moving to the next. Let's see. We do have, it's not technically a government representative, and so I'll give him public comment though for 2 minutes. Brandon Pender. Brandon.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can hear you, my friend. Go ahead.
Okay, I just unmuted. Yeah, good evening, board. Thank you for having me at your meeting. I hope everybody's doing well. I've got a quick, report for you tonight. I sent out some earlier information to. I didn't have everybody's email address, so hopefully it was disseminated properly. But we did a report on the October 23 report from the city administrative officer that put out a report that we're headed for another deficit, which going to be ranging between $400 to $600 million. And actually, we've actually estimated even larger than that because of certain over expenditures of about $120 million. The CAO's office has addressed also next year's budget gap, which is adding to this because of the growth and the increase of personnel costs and it's associated with our last labor agreement that we had in 2019 with the LAPD and the fire department. I don't know if this is going to be adjusted, however, because of the taking of $150 million from the police department, but it is going to be certainly relevant, and it's going to probably be realized in a lot of services with those two departments, as well as other services like with the public works and street services and sidewalks and park services, the homeless department that we have, and a lot of other things. And also a lot of this is not really on the city of Los Angeles, because we do have a situation where since we have a lockdown, we're not getting all the revenues from taxes that we would normally get. I mean, from taxes from movie theaters and certain restaurants that are say, for instance, don't really do takeout, but they do have a lot of they would normally have a lot of indoor dining and things like that, and a lot of other businesses that do a lot of retail business within the city. So say a good third or maybe 2/3 of that is not really, a result of any bad management on the city's part, but the real problem is basically is what the city is going to do about it. They're still adjusting to this problem. And I know that our CD2 representative, Mr. Kokorian, has mentioned that a lot of things are going to be happening. He had mentioned this with his finance committee, that the cities, some of the departments are going to have to jettison some of their non-core services in their entirety, as well as a lot of major reduction of costs of personnel, ranging from renegotiating again some of the labor contracts that are either in force or pending, and also initiated some layoffs and furloughs. So that was his recommendation to that, to basically ease the pain. So it's really at this particular point still a little bit doom and gloom. I don't really know what's going to happen, or we don't really know. The neighborhood council budget advocates don't really know what's going to happen, but we're going to be writing a paper based on all of this that we have with our committee with the CAO's office that's going to address this. Also, at the same time, is that since Proposition 15 did not pass, there's a lot of things that the city is not going to be getting. I guess they're expecting some sort of a windfall from that new revenue that was going to be as a result of that passage. But I see, unless there's some kind of recount, that's not going to happen as well. So we have look forward to that sort of thing as well. Also, at the same time, is that we didn't have a town hall as expected because of the of shifting of a lot of schedules. It was not something that we were able to do. We were hoping to possibly do or schedule another town hall at the beginning of next quarter. Whenever that happens, whenever we get a good date and a time that we're going to be doing this, I'll let everybody know. And of course, it's just going to be a remote town hall. And we're going to address a lot of issues that are coming up that are, of course, passed in 2020 and now coming up in 2021. Another thing that we have, too, is that we had some defections from the neighborhood council budget advocates by some groups that decided that they really would rather try to attack some of our budgetary problems from the bottom up instead of from the top down. And so we have a few people that have either are going to resign or have already resigned from the budget advocates, and we have a few budget representatives that are doing that as well. I don't know if they've contacted all the neighborhood councils, but some of them are contacting the neighborhood councils basically for proxy votes and things like that. We're trying to work things out with them and maybe give them their own caucus within our body, but I really don't know. I'm not on the executive board, so I really don't know exactly what's being worked out. I do know that one of the co-chairs had a meeting with two of their proponents, but I don't really know what's going to be happening after that. I'll keep you abreast of that. And that I'll actually keep you abreast by email as well. We do have a meeting this Friday in the evening to discuss what we're going to do as a whole, because we also have to fill some seats in certain regions that we need to make up for the lack of people that we've lost so far, which is not a lot of people, just maybe 2 or 3 people on, one person from our executive committee and another person that's heading up a major committee, and the rest of them really are budget reps. So that's something else that we can discuss at another time. Right now, we're still putting together our white papers, but like I said before, we're not going to do a large white paper like we did in the previous years. We're going to simply do small white papers and put them out throughout the year. That's really best, because it's just too much for any neighborhood council to either help participate in or read and say, okay, we would like you to support it and so forth and so on. This is better because a lot of things are going to be happening that everybody likes. We're going to attack the homeless problem. We're going to work on the people's budget. Because there's people within the neighborhood council budget advocates who want to do something with that. And we also have a special LAPD committee that's also going to address some of the problems that have arisen in this last few years. We have to address it. We have no other choice but to do so. Anyway, I think my time's almost up, but that's it.
Yep.
I don't know if anybody has any.
It is. Thank. It's a lot of info. Thank you so much.
Okay.
I am going to forward all that info to the board. I think as well, if it's okay with you, for budget advocates, we will, in the next e-blast, we will mention your email if people in the community have questions about the NC budget advocates, what they do, what info they have, etc. We're happy to share that info. So thank you very much. Since we'll be dark in December, wishing you.
Thank you, and have a Merry Christmas. Are you guys dark next month? Or
we are going to be dark next month, so wishing you happy Thanksgiving. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you in 2021. Thank you so much.
Oh.
Moving right along, we have agenda item number 6, the treasurer's report. Take it away, Rick. I understand on item A, budget packet approval update. I believe that was you. Finally, everything is now submitted to the city.
Yes. So waiting to hear back. If I hear it all, should be okay.
Great. And then B, we have approval for the October monthly expenditure report.
One quick comment.
Sure, please.
Before we hit the, maybe you want to keep in mind that, like, if we are lucky enough to really get vaccines starting in the spring, that might be the biggest deal of the first half of 2021. We might want to, we've got the money since we've missed out on throwing 2 or 3 festivals to maybe do some outreach with them, maybe some box lunches when you get your first vaccine, maybe outreach if it's early enough to increase voter participation in our election. We don't, I don't know how it's going to work, but we got the money to throw at something if that would, be something to work with. And next thing is just to approve the October monthly expense report. The motion is the board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council approves the October expense report.
Okay. Any objection?
I think we got to go roll call.
A roll call, right? Yeah, roll call vote because it's financial.
You don't need a second or anything? Oh.
No, I don't think we need a second, just a roll call vote. So Richard Adams?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Randy?
Yes.
Alex? Alex? Okay. Raduca?
Yes.
Lisa?
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes.
Richard?
Yes.
Jesse?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Lana?
Yes.
Alexa? Yes. And Adam?
Yes.
Passes unanimously.
And then one more thing is just approving the annual inventory report, which is pretty much the same report as last year's. Nothing's really changed. So the motion is, the board of the council approves the annual inventory report.
Roll call vote.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
Yeah, I think it needs to be a roll call vote. So let me save this roll call vote, and then I'll do the next.
Just a point of clarification on the roll call votes. We're doing that since we're on Zoom, right? So everyone can sort of hear us, but really that paperwork that goes with the roll call votes is just for the financial motions, correct? Right? Just making sure that nobody's doing more paperwork than they need to.
Right.
They're to prove that we've done our fiduciary duty in caring for property that was purchased with city funds, so the taxpayers know we're not just spending money like drunken sailors. Although when drunken sailors run out of money, they quit spending.
I guess that's a yes from him, Alex. Haha.
Yes. Okay, roll call vote, approval of the, is this the inventory list?
Yes.
It looks like we actually have a public comment before we take the vote. 1 second.
Okay.
Lisa Sarkin, go ahead.
Well, you can take the vote. I just wanted to know how much of the budget is for the election committee, for the election.
It's not, I mean, the budget's not binding, and I just took a wild guess and budgeted like $10,400 since we're going to do vote by mail. And, we've got 35,000 people in Studio City, which means, I don't know, probably around 10,000 households times postage and printing. Anyway, whatever it turns out being, we'll probably have enough money because there's so much other stuff we're not spending on.
Mr. President, can I make a comment, an informed comment on this?
Yes, yeah, sure, please.
A couple of neighborhood councils in the past, when things were, quote, normal, unquote, you had to request a vote by mail ballot to get one. And they talked about it at the bank meeting the other night, but, it sounds like the city clerk is still trying to figure out what they're going to do when the time comes. We should probably get some more clarity on that. And in the past with the vote by mail, I know neighborhood councils had to kick some money in, and with the revenues being what they are, we're going to have to get on the city after the first of the year and try to figure out what's going on before it's crunch time. That's all.
Excuse me, I didn't get to finish what I wanted to say.
Yep, that's fine. Go ahead.
Okay, so I will be taking care of that part of the whatever information we need to get, obviously. I believe that will be my responsibility. But also, I don't know if I have to ask for, which we always had to do in the past, a specific amount of money that's set aside for sure for the election. Has anything come from Dunn? Is Gibson still there? Can he say whether there's supposed to be a specific amount of money held over, which there have been in other years?
Well, we
Gibson still is on the line. What I would say to that is the preference, I think, would be that if I understand correctly, in the budget packet, we give a rough guess, but ultimately the normal course of order would be that the election committee would still make a request after they've done their due diligence, or we have a few more answers. They would make a request to the board. So it could be less than that, or even, I believe, potentially could be in excess of that.
The vote through the budget committee the way it would normally go?
Normal order, yeah, correct.
Okay.
Gibson, is that correct?
I mean, Mr. President, you're the one who sets the agenda, correct?
Yes.
I mean, if you're trying to do it in an incorporating manner, then that makes sense. But if you just want to have the committee discuss it and then come for full board action, for discussion and action, then sure.
Great, thanks. Does that answer your question, Lisa?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so approval of the inventory list.
Okay, we're ready for our vote?
Please.
Richard?
I missed it. Did you call me? Yes.
Yep. Brian?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Randy?
Yes.
Alex?
Yes.
Raduca?
Yes.
Lisa?
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes.
Richard?
Yes.
Jesse?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Lana?
yes.
Alexa, yes. And Adam?
Yes.
Great. Passes.
Great, moving right along. Sustainability Committee. As promised, you are not at the bottom of the batting rotation. Your first bats. So take it away, Rajuka.
Thank you so much, Randy. And the whole.
Mr. President, excuse me,
Yes.
Raduca. Before we start, Randy, I sent you an email a little while ago. I believe that the Sustainability Committee agenda while well-intentioned, was not properly announced. The e-blast I saw and the board webpage as of this evening, the links to all the CF files are dead. I know Miss Melanie sent out an approved version, but I never saw it go through the ENS system. And while I have absolutely no problem discussing these and voting on them, none of them appear to be time sensitive. Oh my God, do this now or the world's coming to an end. And the stakeholders, frankly, did not get proper notification of what they were supposed to be looking at. Most stakeholders have no idea the council file system exists, let alone have access it. And I would politely suggest that this be tabled until January. Although I would also point out, historically, whether or not committees meet in December and whether or not there is a board meeting is something that is discussed with the committees and at the board, and whether or not the board can have a quorum, not something the president decides. Not a knock on you, just historical. Thank you.
Okay, so there's a motion to table the Sustainability Committee motions. Is there, because of concern about notification via the ENS, is there a second?
Yes.
There is a second. Okay, so if we can go to, well, first, before, well, I guess we have to bring it to a vote. So if we can do a roll call vote just to verify here. So this is, the motion is to table all three motions by the Sustainability Committee until January so that they can properly notify the public with live links through the ENS. So if we can do a roll call vote, please.
Yep. Richard?
The links are dead on the webpage. They were dead the night of the meeting, and they're still dead this evening. So by all means, no. I don't want to stop the conversation, but it's incumbent upon us to do things by the rules. Thank you.
Yep, we hear you. Thank you.
Brian?
I'm sorry, what is it? A no vote is to not table this?
No, it's to table. Wait, yeah, Richard. So you're
motion
saying you
is to
don't want to. Thank you,
table.
Brian. You're saying you
Yeah,
don't want
he
to table.
brought up the
Yeah,
motion and
no.
then voted no.
You're absolutely right. It's past beer 30 and I'm still sober, so the brain's not working right. Yes, table this, please. Just so nobody files a grievance.
Brian?
No.
Michael?
No.
Randy?
No.
Alex?
No.
Reduca? Reduca?
Let's skip over her for the moment. I imagine she
Lisa?
would be a no.
No.
Nancy?
I'm abstaining. I don't have enough information.
Richard?
No.
Jesse?
No.
Rick?
Dane?
Lana? So, yes to table, right?
Correct.
Yeah, table. For me, I'm a yes.
Alexa, I'm abstaining. And Adam?
No.
Motion fails.
Okay, Melanie and Raduca, your motions, starting with 7A.
Ladies?
Raduca, or it looks like Melanie has dropped off. Raduca?
So they essentially tabled their own motion?
Okay, Randy.
Yes,
so
I hear Raduca. Yes, go ahead.
everybody. Okay, I apologize that usually you see me. I'm basically experiencing like I'm sick. So basically Randy knows that.
Yes.
Melanie's gonna try to come back on to basically present it. So if you allow us a few moments for Melanie to come back, I appreciate that. So Randy, I just was counting on you to basically, okay, she's gonna, okay. This is a weird situation right now because I was not supposed to even be part of this meeting, and it seems that Melanie is having a situation that Richard mentioned something that she felt, anyway, I'm mediating emotions at this moment, but basically Melanie feels affected by the fact that Richard brought this up at this moment. Now I don't know how to deal with this, Randy.
Sure. So, I mean,
am
if you
not
want,
physically equipped to do this. Otherwise,
no, I understand. So I understand that. So, because
Melanie's
you
back
did
on
send,
now.
you did send me an email. So if, I would say the following, the board is happy to read these motions and vote on them. I think the friendly amendment is that, for example, and that could be a type on my part, is 7A, is that we support a
Point of order.
CIS.
Melanie is back on.
Okay, great. So if Melanie would like to speak, if you can free her up to speak. So if she wants to speak to these motions and present them, that's fine, or we can just read them and vote on them. Up to you. Melanie?
Or go back and table them.
Or we'll table them, yes. Okay, Melanie, would you like to present your motions 7A, B, and C?
I'm sorry, I left. I may be behind. I left after you all voted not to hear the motions. Did something change?
No,
We actually, that's not true. We voted the reverse of that.
Oh,
The
terrific.
motion was to table them, and that did not pass.
Okay.
By a wide margin.
Okay, great. So we have three motions for the board. The first one is relative to the city's healthy soil strategy, which is part of the mayor's Green New Deal, sustainability plan, resilience plan efforts to develop a healthy soil strategy for the city and to grow composting and mulching operations throughout the city to support that healthy soils program. So there is a council file out there to encourage city departments to identify opportunities to undertake composting and mulching operations, and to also identify underutilized spaces that the city controls to see if they can be unpaved to support composting and mulching operations, and also just to have more healthy soil in the city. So this is a CIS in support of that motion to encourage city departments to identify opportunities to build healthy soils throughout Los Angeles. And the motion reads, Studio City Neighborhood Council supports motion 20-1225 to develop a healthy soil strategy for the city, to support carbon sequestration, urban agriculture, and water management, and to encourage city departments to identify opportunities to unpave underutilized spaces and utilize them for compost and mulching operations.
So we have, before we get to board discussion, et cetera, we have public comment so we'll open public comment on agenda item 7A. So first we'll start with Barry Johnson. Go ahead.
Yes, just some procedure on how this is written. 20-1225 is not a motion. It is a city council file, and this should say FCNC supports city council file 20-221225 in the form of a community impact statement in parentheses CIS, and then go on from there. But to be submitted as a CIS, you have to state that. And like I said, 20-1225 is not a motion. If you click on 20-1225, the council file, you will get a link to the original motion made by a council member, but this is not what the motion now is. It's now a city council file to be submitted as a CIS. So in order for you to vote on this, that wording needs to be fixed.
Barry's absolutely right.
So that's a friendly amendment. I think we can make those changes. Are you open to that, Melanie?
Sure. This was written collectively, including Richard and Randy, so we're happy to take board input on that.
Great. So it'll say the Studio City Neighborhood Council supports City Council File 20-1225 in the form of a community impact statement, parentheses, CIS, close parentheses, and then we'll go on. To develop a healthy soil strategy for the city to support carbon sequestration, urban agriculture, water management, and to encourage city department to identify opportunities to unpave underutilized spaces and utilize them for compost and mulching operations. Are there any other public comments on this? Board comments?
I've got one.
Sure.
I don't know about folks, but I've done composting in my backyard for, I don't know, 15 years or so. Went out and bought a actual device designed to compost things, used it for various things we grow in the yard, gave it to a friend of mine who's a farmer, as it were. And composting is the breaking down of various living things into the component parts. It attracts insects. It creates smells. And it also involves a whole lot of work, and I speak from experience. So while I have absolutely no problem with creating a compost system and doing it, this whole thing needs to consider the side effects to the neighborhood. If I build a big old compost heap in my backyard and spend the time pitchforking it over and over again, the city's going to be a whole bunch of complaints about the smells. So that's the problem with a lot of this stuff. It's a great idea, but there are side effects that people who've never done it don't really think about. And that would be another reason it needs to go back and be thought about more, and maybe throw in a few more cautions about the impacts of such a program on the surrounding neighborhoods. I got no problem with the general process. Been there, done that. But I'm well aware of the side effects. That's all. Thank you.
Great, thanks. Lana Ford?
Yeah, hey, so what is the actual schedule of something like this happening? I guess that you identify the locations and then they may be approved or may not be approved for certain situations. If it's a paved area, they're gonna spend money to jackhammer it. Is that what's gonna happen? I just want to know, in this time of crisis, and as we heard from the budget advocate, with all the hundreds of millions of dollars that we're in a deficit, if this is going to be money spent actually all over the city to turn over unused property and dig up pavement and use the money for it. It's nice in theory. I echo what Richard says. I think you're going to have a lot of complaints, especially if they want to come next door to you and put it in near your house. That's all.
Okay, seeing no other board comments or public comments, I'd like to move this to a vote. Roll call whenever you're ready, Alexa.
Yep, I'm ready. Richard Adams.
As written, no.
Are we doing it as amended?
As amended.
As amended.
As amended. So it's including the language, city council file and in the form of a CIS.
Correct.
Yeah. No. Once again, no. It needs, it's a whole bunch of missing things.
That's fine. Brian?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Randy?
Yes.
Alex? He's on the phone. Okay, we'll skip him for now. Raduca?
Yes.
Lisa?
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes.
Richard?
Yes.
Jesse?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Lana?
No. And I'd like to say that mainly because some of Richard's points he brought up about it being agendized improperly, I think we might hear some more backlash on that. Thanks. I'm a no.
Alexa, no. I'm voting yes. Adam?
Yes. And also really quick, when we vote, can we just, Richard, can you just vote yes or no? You have a previous platform to voice your concerns in the comments. So
Thank you so much, Adam.
Okay, motion passes.
Thank you very much. Moving to Sustainability Committee's 7B motion. By the way, just as a side note, Melanie, before you tell us about this, I imagine it's going to be a similar friendly amendment, changing the word motion. So similarly, we would say supports, striking the word motion, City Council file 20-0838, comma, in the form of a community impact statement, parentheses, CIS, close parentheses. Is that okay with you?
Yes.
Okay, take it away.
So the motion we have before us is the Studio City Neighborhood Council supports Council File 20-0838 in the form of a CIS and asks the city to make the Slow Streets program permanent. We believe that using permanent materials will have a positive impact on the air quality and the health of our community and on the safety of our streets. We also support efforts by the CLA, the Chief Legislative Analyst, and the City Attorney to explore what changes to the State Vehicle Code may be necessary to legally effectuate the program and to draft a resolution to support state legislative action to make any such changes. Just for background, this is a motion that is in process. It's passed one hurdle in council already. DOT is looking at and is interested in providing the 50 neighborhoods that have received slow streets with more permanent materials so that the volunteers who manage these slow streets throughout the city don't have to go out and pick the barriers up when they blow over in the wind or replace some of the signage that's affixed to them and use some of the more permanent materials that we see in other areas of the city for other kinds of programs. So the DOT is interested in moving this forward, and this is a motion in support of that. What they're currently looking at is a couple of different options for how to proceed, using either metal signs instead of the plastic barriers, or more durable temporary barricades, maybe doing some striping. So DOT is in the process of exploring which option to move forward with. And as I said, this is sort of past the first hurdle and we're on to the next.
Point of order?
Happy to answer any
Yes.
other questions.
Yeah, go ahead. We'll start with, a lot of hands have already popped up. So go ahead, Michael.
I move that I would like to make a motion that we refer this matter to the Transportation Committee, please.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
We have a second, so let's please do a roll call vote. Alexa.
Okay. Yes, I'm here. I know I have like my voting register up and my minutes and the Zoom, so it takes me a second to like maneuver my screen.
No worries.
So we are voting to move this to transportation. Richard Adams.
Yes.
Ryan.
No.
Michael.
Yes.
Randy.
Yes.
Alex.
Yes.
Raduca.
No.
Lisa.
Yes.
Nancy.
Yes.
Richard.
Yes.
Jesse.
No.
Rick.
Yes.
Lana.
Yes.
Alexa, yes. And Adam. Was that it, Adam?
Sorry, no, I'm sorry.
No.
Thought I did unmute.
Motion passes.
So this motion will be referred to the Transportation Committee for them to discuss and, if appropriate, move forward, bring it back to the board as a motion. Motion 7C, just of course, say with you, Melanie, the same as the other two, supports striking the word motion for city council file and in the form of with the number and then in the form 20-0492 in the form of a community impact statement parentheses CIS.
Ahead of time, I suspect that someone may ask to move this to government affairs. I'm surprised our first one didn't get moved somewhere else. And I'd like to clarify what is meant by collaborate when we're talking about collaborating across committees. If it's sustainability always must defer, or if there actually is a process for collaboration, or who wins, who carries it forward in the end. I think it would be worthwhile for us to have more clarity on what we mean when we talk about committees that share issues need to collaborate, and who has priority, or how that proceeds forward when we come to the board, that sort of thing. It'd be helpful and be respectful and avoid time waste.
Did you think?
Excuse me?
I'm sorry?
I don't know what happened, but
Richard was just cursing me
moving.
out, I think.
It's moving right along. If we can, there's actually public comment. So we can, let's see, I think I just want to saw a hand up. 1 second. Barry Johnson, you had your hand up. So before we go on to the next motion 7C.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many committee chairs I communicate with and send stuff that transportation is doing. I go through city council files and agendas, and in sustainability in particular, I have sent Raduca countless things since that committee's been going again on council files that some of which they've taken up that were definitely sustainability. So, I mean, I find that there is cooperation between committees, you know, and I know there was a meeting last week where our former public safety chair even stated the same thing. So, I mean, I can cite you many places where I've passed things along to Lisa Karajian, I've passed things along to Rachel, and I passed things along to sustainability. So, you know, it works both ways. Just remember, you know, cooperation works both ways. Thank you.
Randy, I don't seem to have the ability to raise my hand, so that's why I'm interrupting. But
Oh, I'm sorry. No, please go. Yes, please go ahead. I'm sorry, Raduca.
I need to comment because I think that there is a timeline that was not considered in this case. So Slow Streets came to us via the sponsor who sponsored the Slow Streets. What happened, stakeholder got in touch with us, and the understanding from the stakeholders was that the Transportation Committee was asked, or they were talking to either the president or the Transport Committee. And I remember at the time Brian was the president, and they were directed to me, who is part of sustainability, because the Transportation Committee did not take it on. And I don't want to say more either there was no support or exactly I don't have an understanding what happened. So that's why we took it on. And now it seems we are putting it back on the transportation. So I just want everybody to be clear. It's not that we took it on because it's just us and do it on our own, but stakeholders directly requested that we take it on. It's a very strong support from the community, and I wanted everybody to be clear on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Raduca. So are there any other public comments on that? Brian, please go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to echo what Raduca just said. It's when the Slow Streets program was first brought to us, it was new, yeah, and the rules for it were a little bit ambiguous, but Raduca found a way to do it, and she almost single-handedly, at least from my point of view, was able to usher Slow Streets into Studio City. And yeah, that was brought to us by stakeholders asking to be this done. When I drive around Studio City now, there's several streets that are slow streets. And so I honestly believe, and maybe I could be wrong, but I honestly believe that none of that would have been possible in Studio City without Raduca. And now
And
as she,
Melanie.
and Melanie, yes, but I just mean, like, in terms of my point of view and my pipeline, so to see it now on the agenda, I think it's great to shuffle that forward even further. It has been, since the foundation of the Slow Streets program in LA has been shepherded by the Sustainability Committee. I am disappointed that it will continue not to be so. That's it.
Thank you, Brian. Lana?
I believe there are lots of ways that the Sustainability Committee would still be able to support this Slow Streets effort with more specificity. Somebody help me say that word.
Specificity.
Yes, thank you. And I believe when you're looking at these motions and how to determine where they might best be reviewed or which committee to go to, it would go to, I don't know, you could use some kind of guideline if it's 50% to 2/3 of more of policies that transportation would have, as opposed to the sustainability committees looking at the kind of materials that would be used and asking for help with those kinds of issues and reviews. I just see that, as they said, that they work together. It's really great, and it's important because everybody's going to have a little piece of each motion somewhere. There's going to be an overlapping situation, and it is in the specifics and in what majority of that process, or the majority of your motion, what it pertains to. The majority of it, I think, is going to tell you a lot of where it would belong. And in this case, with the way this motion is written, and that it deals with the movement of vehicles on the road, that is definitely a transportation issue.
But the transportation didn't want to deal with it. So it's really more that some committee took it over. We are very clear what's about. We are supporting this. So but now it's already gone, so we can move on. But
and we
I don't want
never
to go
said
on,
we
I want
didn't
to
want to
answer
support
Lana's
it.
question directly. You want
We
it to
never
be
said
in
we
the
didn't
motion.
support it.
You want it to be in the motion and what the motion says. This motion says, we believe that using permanent materials will have a positive impact on the air quality and the health of our community and the safety of our streets. You thought 2/3, 1/3. You were saying perhaps a 2/3, 1/3 balance. It's right there in the specificity of the motion.
Mr. President,
Yes,
point of order.
However,
Yep. Let's
Can we
Lana,
please
yeah,
can we please move to the next motion, motion C? That's what we're discussing.
Yes, and I think
Yeah.
the reason I asked, I derailed slightly before motion C was simply because I anticipated another motion to move it to government affairs, and I wanted process clarity on how we collaborate. Barry, I wasn't slamming you for not collaborating. You're very collaborative. I've also shared motions across committees. What the question is when it comes down to it, what this board has just asked is that we defer to another committee. So my question is about collaboration and how that plays out. At what point, and I think Randy and maybe some other board members, Nancy and Brian and others, might want to have a conversation about how we effectuate this collaboration process, because so far it translates as deference. And what we don't want to do is take up committee meeting time and motions and discussion on these issues only to be swept aside at the last minute because we have to defer to a different committee, and that's not collaboration. So I would just want clarity on that. And if you want to move motion C to a different committee,
you know, that's your prerogative. But motion C says,
Go ahead.
Studio City Neighborhood Council supports Council File 200492 in the form of a CIS to perform an inventory of the city's insurance policies so that the city can identify and orient its purchasing towards insurers working for a sustainable future.
Okay, any public comment on this? I see hands have gone up. So if you can please, and Michael, just be mindful of the timer, please. Thank you. We'll start with Barry Johnson. Go ahead, 2 minutes. Barry?
So yeah, all I
Yep,
want to say is we never did not want to do slow streets. We just said we wanted individual blocks to apply for it, because if the SCNC was the sponsor, we would be responsible for fixing the signs. That's all.
Point of order. Did you have a comment as it relates to motion 7C, Mary? No. Okay. I see a hand raised for Scott Mindell.
Oh, hi there. I want to make a comment about the 7C and its apparent overlap between multiple committees, and perhaps make a suggestion that when one committee is deliberating and going over something that may or may not come under the jurisdiction of another committee, since it's the board that is going to reconcile the motion, what is the downside of two committees, or however many committees, presenting their best argument at the same time on the agenda, where transportation and sustainability or government affairs would each have their say about a motion, and then the board can reconcile it and then create a CIS to support the best efforts of the multiple committees that deliberated their expertise coming up with the idea. Thanks.
Thank you. Looking for board comment. I see Richard Adams.
Okay. As a native of this fine city, or once fine city, as a taxpayer, as a business owner, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, the board, when we go to buy something, we have to answer to the city clerk's office and make sure we're, they have fiduciary responsibility to make sure we're not throwing away the taxpayer money. As a taxpayer, I think this board and every other representative body in the city has an obligation to make sure that the money they take from me to give whatever services they dole out is spent as efficiently as possible. I have no problem with individuals making decisions and how they spend their own personal money to satisfy whatever goal they think is noble, wonderful, and just. But they have no right to spend my money, my neighbor's money, the business owners across the street, people down the block, the whole 9 yards. The city should spend its money in the most efficient, cost-effective manner possible and get the coverage we need so that we don't get sued any more than necessary, that even more money comes out of the budget. And while this is a noble idea, it makes no fiscal sense, especially since we have even less money than usual. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other? I'm going to lower your hand because you already spoke. I'll lower that hand. You already spoke. And I'll lower that hand. Okay. All right. Is there any board? Nancy, please go ahead.
Yeah, I think I'm on with Richard here, but when my city is purchasing insurance, I want them to look at the companies that they're purchasing from, their history, their solidness about being able to pay out insurance claims. They're like a sustainable future is very low on my priority of who they choose to purchase insurance for the city. Am I missing something? Maybe is my question, because that's what I'm thinking I'm reading.
I'm happy to answer any questions to discuss this. We tried to keep it as simple as possible,
I
per
get
the,
that.
to not make it too complicated, but I'm happy to discuss what's behind the motion if anybody wants. Just let me know.
Richard, you had a comment? Niederberg?
Yeah, we went through this and really vetted this thing and changed wording around. I guess I caused some problems there trying to have the right wording. I do acknowledge what Nancy is saying. I think it should go to a vote as written, from the committee, and not be modified except for any technical language of motion or CIS. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Brian Carroll, please.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say is I think, for a city such as ours, when they have an actual agenda for what they want to see in a sustainable future, I think it would be off-putting if the city had a goal in missions and milestones for one goal and didn't reflect that mission and goals into the kind of business relationship that they have with others. Because at that point, it's just then the city's actually not implementing the plans and the goals that they want to implement if they're doing business with people who are also not. It flies in the face of it. I think this is a perfectly good, reasonable motion.
Thank you, Brian. So let's bring this to a vote, please.
Okay, we're voting on motion 7C as amended. Richard?
Can it be read?
Oh, you want me to read it as amended?
I'd like you to, yes.
Sure. The Studio City Neighborhood Council supports City Council File 20-0492 in the form of a Community Impact Statement, GIS, to perform an inventory of the city's insurance policies so that the city can identify and orient its purchasing towards insurers working for a sustainable future.
And Nancy, let me know if you need me to backfill that a bit. I'm really happy to quote from another neighborhood council motion if it helps.
I think it's neutral enough. Thank you.
I was asking Nancy, but okay.
Let's go ahead. Let's go ahead with the vote, please.
Richard Adams?
No.
Brian?
Yes.
Michael?
No.
Randy?
Yes.
Alex?
No.
Raduca?
Yes.
Lisa?
No.
Nancy?
No.
Richard?
No.
Jesse?
Yes.
Rick?
Abstain.
Lana?
No.
Alexa? No. And Adam? Adam?
I think he said yes.
Oh, sorry, I can't.
No, I'm sorry, no.
Oh.
Every time I'm
no?
getting my mute, I'm sorry.
No.
No.
Motion
Sorry.
fails.
Thank you very much. Moving on to agenda item number 8, Transportation Committee, Barry Johnson. Barry?
So our only motion comes from a stakeholder, Barry Weiss, who is a member of the Budget Committee. And he noticed that on Vineland Avenue, which has had bike lanes for a few years from Ventura to Chandler, it's hit and miss as far as bollard separation between the bike lanes and the lanes of traffic, and suggested that we ask Councilmember Krikorian for these bollards to be completed so people can ride the entire length. So I'll go ahead and read it. The board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council requests Councilmember Paul Krikorian to direct the Los Angeles Department of Transportation to install bollards between the Vineland Avenue bicycle lane and the Vineland Avenue right vehicle traffic lane in each direction between Ventura Boulevard and Chandler Boulevard, wherever they do not already exist. That's all.
Any public comment on this? Go ahead, Melanie. 2 minutes.
Great. So this is to improve the protection of a bike lane in Studio City along a short stretch. Is that correct?
Well, we're doing it all, since it exists all the way to Chandler, we're doing the entire length, and the two neighborhood councils that it also affects have been informed that we are of this proposed motion.
But this is just for a short stretch in Studio City. This sounds very familiar to me. I'm thinking back a couple of months on the board comments about another proposed motion for a protected bike lane, where the comments were, we don't have the money, protected bike lanes are stupid, no one uses bikes, the only people who use bikes are disabled, and again, we don't have the money. And so I'm just really confused. The last proposed motion wouldn't have cost any more because it was simply striping that is already planned to be done, and it was only striping in a different way. This is actually requested to install more bollards. And while I wholeheartedly support investments in multimodal transit and anything that's going to help us survive the climate crisis or mitigate it, I'm just confused. The Transportation Committee opposed our motion for that bike lane when it would have been no cost. And now they're proposing another bike lane that's going to cost money. The other thing was, another board member said it's only in a short stretch of Studio City, even though it was over half a mile. And this motion is for a few sections that are currently in need of some help. So I'm just a little confused as to this board's take on bike lanes. That's it. And I support it, just for the record.
Right. Is there
coming from a different committee?
Any other public comments? Seeing no hands. Is there any board comment on this?
Yes.
Richard Niederberg, go ahead, please.
Yeah. The other proposal was for a much stronger protection of the bike lanes than this is just the bollards, which get knocked down and replaced around the city all the time. But my main concern was it can't be solid. I'm very concerned with the bollards in front of the fire station, because whenever there is some sort of proposed emergency or the middle of an emergency, non-fire, they bring the fire engines out and park them in front of the station, if you look at various stations. So I'm just concerned with bollards parked in front of the Whipple and Vineland station.
And they absolutely will not be putting them anywhere near the fire station.
That's what I hope.
Okay, Richard, thank you so much. I just heard of Mr. President. I'm assuming that's Richard Adams.
Well, I try to be good. Having been hit by a car, both on foot and on a bicycle more than once, I was lucky to live through the last one, the bollards are nice because of some sort of visual indication, but they're not a whole lot of protection. And frankly, I'm not against the idea, but it's like crosswalks. People go walk through the crosswalk without looking, without checking traffic, making sure everybody's stopped, and they're stunned and amazed when they get hit by a car. If we're out on the street, when you're driving, when you're riding a bike, when you're walking, your safety is your first priority and what you have to look towards. And for instance, if you're at Moore Park, hanging left, going up to Riverside, hanging right, getting on 134, which is, especially in the evening, the whole world's lined up there. that whole bike lane there is striped in such a manner that everybody's supposed to recognize that you're sharing the road. And bollards in that instance are going to make it, are not going to help. But as Barry said, they're not going to put them in front of the fire station either. This was a good idea, but I'm not sure, I don't make sure Paul Corrigan has the authority to direct the DOT to install bollards everywhere, unless there's some sort of verbiage about anywhere it's practicable or endorsed by a traffic study, etc. That's all. I'm not against the general concept. It's just I'm not sure the current verbiage is practical, and practical saves money. Thank you.
Great. Any other board comments? If not, let's move this to a vote.
Great.
Oh.
We are voting on motion 8A. Richard?
Did I miss my name?
Yep, that's yours.
Yep.
Okay. Once again, I muted as soon as I got done talking. I'm trying to be good. As written, no. Thank you.
As written, no. Okay. Brian?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Randy?
Yes.
Alex?
No.
Reduka? Reduka?
She sent an email. She had to leave the meeting. She's unwell.
Ah, okay. Absent. Lisa?
Yes.
Nancy?
Abstain.
Richard? Yes.
Jesse?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Lana?
Yes.
Alexa? Yes. Adam?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Did I hear Melanie laugh when I said yes?
Okay, moving right along, Barry Johnson, switch your hat, please, to Government Affairs, and go ahead with 9A.
Yeah, this motion came to us from a stakeholder who gave us knowledge of an ordinance similar to what we're asking for here in Orange County that was recently enacted. And basically in Los Angeles, any business that opens does so with the Los Angeles Building and Safety Department telling them, based on the size of the business, whether they have to have restrooms for customers or not. And it's usually dependent upon size. In terms of restaurants, let's say, Subways, you'll notice, don't have restrooms, but a bigger McDonald's does. So this motion only has to do with what the building and safety department's requirements are already for an existing business. So I'll read the motion. The board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council requests Councilmember Paul Krikorian to make a motion to require businesses that are required to have restrooms for customers under Los Angeles Building and Safety Codes to keep those restrooms open when the indoor portion of the business is open. That's all.
Any public comment? Opening public comment now. I see your hand, Richard. 1 second. Seeing no public comment is closed. Moving this to under the wire. Scott Mandel, go ahead.
Hi, thank you. I just had a question regarding the word customer. I think we know that Starbucks pretty much opens their restroom to anybody, and you don't need to be a customer. My question, or for clarity, is that these businesses, according to this motion, they would still be able to refuse the use of the restroom if the person was not a customer? Just wondering, thanks.
And that is correct, because building and safety's code requires that they have, when required, requires that they have them for customers, not just somebody from the public coming off the street. So these are not, in that sense of the word, they're not required public restrooms. They're required, well, they're required restrooms for the public that would be coming in as customers.
The patronage, right? They're patrons.
So we're going with what the building code says, and we're not forcing anybody to let anybody off the street use their restroom. That's not what this is about.
Point of information.
Question?
Please.
Are they not opening their restrooms right now?
Yes. Well, I can tell you from personal experience in my job, there's many places I go, and particularly fast food, and I go in because I can't go through the drive-through because my vehicle's too tall, and I buy something, and the restroom's blocked off, and I say, can I use your restroom?
Thank you.
And they say no. But it's not just fast food. I've heard of other instances. So that's where this originated from in Orange County.
I can second that motion. The gas station I usually buy gas at has the bathroom locked off because, oh my God, COVID. So, yeah, it's happening all over.
Comment?
Okay, seeing no other.
Hello?
Hi, Richard, go ahead.
The primary criteria in the building and safety code is, are you serving food? You're serving food, you got to provide a restroom. There may be other fine print. Some places say hot food, but normally you're serving food, you got to have a restroom.
Yeah, but you got to be so big too, because subways are not required to have restrooms for their customers because they have less seating.
And Mr. President, I'd like to revise and extend my comments for a very short period.
Sure.
Vote.
Okay. I will not bore you with the gory details, except to note that I am over my lifetime quota of public embarrassment. I'm blessed with recently in the last year, and one I've had for a while, and a new one that came along, that I never know from one month to the next where I might need a bathroom, and I have next to zero or absolutely no control over now. Those of us are in that situation, and I'm not the only one, but I'm one of the few that's brave enough to go, OMG. And sorry for oversharing.
Richard, can we respectfully, can we just,
yeah, no, this is vital, this is important, and it affects a large portion of the population. Only a few of us have the stones to mention it. And I will cease at that point. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's please, Rick Rosner. Yes, sir.
I'm in Richard's same boat. And if you watch the 24-hour news channels, just judging by the number of ads you see with people rushing, I mean, it's a big chunk of the population that has to rush to a bathroom suddenly.
Great. Thank you very much, Rick. Let's bring this to a vote. Alexa?
I vote on motion 9A.
I just managed to mute myself before you called the vote. Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Randy?
Yes.
Alex?
Yes.
Raduca left. Lisa? Lisa? Okay,
Yes,
I'll come
I'm
back.
sorry.
Oh, there we are. Now I hear you. Nancy?
Yes.
Richard?
Yes.
Jesse?
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Lana,
Yes.
Alexa, yes. Adam,
Yes.
motion passes.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Barry. Moving along to agenda item number 10A, Outreach Committee. This is a motion being brought forward by a board member. Michael, go for it.
Yeah, I'll give a quick little outreach report and then lead right into this.
Great, and then we'll go to public comment and board
Second.
comment.
Great. The Studio City Outreach Survey is live. Please go to the Studio City Neighborhood Council.org. I'm sorry, that's studiocitync.org website. And on the right-hand column below the Facebook entry, there is a link to the survey. We encourage everybody to take it. It lets us know what is on your mind and how you would like to be involved with the neighborhood council system. We have had 40 responses, more than 40 responses so far. And a few highlights from the survey. What it's telling us is by far the most important issue concerning Studio City stakeholders is homelessness. Nearly every single response indicated homelessness as a prime area of concern to them. And the most encouraging response on the survey, it's only 10 questions, was that 55% of the people responding indicated a desire to participate in their local government in some capacity, and we'll be forwarding that information on to committee chairs for their use if they want to contact people to get involved in their committee. It's been a very successful survey so far. We're trying to get it out there to more people. That's going to take some doing once we get our budget unlocked, and we'll get some things rolling out to make that happen. Finally, I'm bringing this motion as a motion as a board member. This is an idea of my wife's, Allie Spotstelazar. She's on the committee also, and I think it's a good one. And that's to print or have made Studio City Neighborhood Council face masks. We have a lot of money sitting around. This is something that would promote safety among our stakeholders. The idea would be it's a black face mask with a white Studio City Neighborhood Council logo on it, with our website in print up the side. And I would say it's cutting edge, except Van Nuys has already beaten us to it. They've done their own. And we've got the price at $3.12 per mask. We would try to do 1,000 of these, which is why I'm asking for up to $3,500 to get the first batch done. We'll see how it goes and how people respond to it. And this came up at the end of the meeting and it was not on the agenda, which is why I'm bringing it as a board member. And the motion reads as follows. The Studio City Neighborhood Council agrees to allocate up to $3,500 for printing and creation of Studio City Neighborhood Council masks for distribution to stakeholders. The masks will be made locally by Custom Supply Company on Cahuenga Boulevard. Price per unit is $3.12 per mask.
Second.
Motion is seconded by Richard Adams. Before we bring this to a vote, opening public comment for agenda item 10A. We have, let me see. We have public comment for 2 minutes. Your time will begin once you start to speak. Goat Puppet, go ahead.
Sorry I'm so late, but your favorite councilman was at the Van Nuys Neighborhood Council doing outreach tonight, and he debated Goat Puppet on Azerbaijan. Yes, thank you so much, and you know who won. So as you see in your agenda packet, the mask was the idea of Goat Puppet. And the SCNC has thanked Goat Puppet for his tremendous contribution, according to the agenda. And that's why Paul Martin Krikorian fled your meeting to try to go to safe ground. Goat Puppet gaining acceptance. Goat Puppet solving problems. Now, in honor of the puppet, every mask should have a tiny little goat, a little gold little goat at one end or the other to symbolize our commitment to running Paul Martin Krikorian the hell out of this city and getting us a new goat to represent us over here in Studio City that we can control. Like in Van Nuys, we control Nuri. We do? Yes. Yes, Nuri is a good advocate for Goat Puppet, but not Paul Martin Krikorian. So did he show up to your meeting in person? Okay. Well, just note that Van Nuys Neighborhood Council, Paul Martin Krikorian, loves them, but he doesn't love you. But I love the mass anyway, that's right. So, again, you can go to the VNC and you can see the debate, but I only had 10 minutes and I was cut off by Mr. Chunky Poo over there. What's his name? Sam Wolf. Sam Wolf, who will soon be in front of a federal jury. Thank you so much.
We have public comment from Barry Johnson. Go ahead.
Hi, Michael. I had two things. I was just wondering if the survey stakeholder information that you'll be sending on to chairs, does it state, did they have to state what area of interest they had, just out of curiosity?
They did.
Okay, wonderful. And secondly, just to play devil's advocate, $3.12 seems high, but I'm guessing that's because they're made in the USA and not China.
I believe they are made here, yes. But
And we're not making that many of them, so you don't get any volume discount.
Well, there's over 1,000 is the cheapest price, so we went to 1,000 to get the cheapest price. Sorry.
All right, thank you.
Great. Seeing no other public comment, is there any board comment? Rick Rosner, go ahead.
It seems like a good idea. How are you going to distribute them?
Bing, bing, bing. Big question.
We have some ideas on that. And here's a couple of proposals, and we will probably, if we get the things done and we can pay for them and everything's going, we have an idea of doing maybe a Studio City day where we hit a couple of the grocery stores around town for 4-hour blocks, and also the farmer's market. And I think we can probably do pretty good to getting 1,000 into the public that way, and bring awareness to our neighborhood council and start helping to keep some people safe.
Hello?
Richard Niederberg and then Lana.
Yeah, if we're using Brian Carroll's design, make sure we have a little tiny TM on it for trademark. I don't want our logo to be taken for commercial purposes by somebody else. You know, hey, let's protect our intellectual property in the Studio City Neighborhood Council. Thank you.
Thank you, and Lana Ford.
Hi, yeah, this is a really nice idea. However, I am under the understanding that any of these motions that are requesting money from the budget were to be presented to the budget committee first. What I'd like to see from outreach is a comprehensive plan, and a lot of these questions that have come up from board members about, well, how are you going to distribute it? The cost seems high. These are all questions that we would vet in the budget committee. So I'm putting it out there, that this should have gone through the budget committee, and not just this one single idea, but I'd like to see this entire campaign and some of the other ideas that you have, Michael, that are really brilliant that you've talked about previously. Just like you put together an advertising campaign and someone presents it and how much money is going to be spent and who the vendors are and if you got bids and the quantities and all of that needs to be vetted and put in a, you know, a nice little campaign presentation.
Great, thank you, Richard Adams.
I would second Miss Lana's comments. She's been involved for quite a long time, not quite as long as me, but I won't get into the medical weeds on this, although there are numerous studies coming around about how ineffective masks are. That's a debate for another time, another place, another location. Any advertising for the SCNC is good advertising, well, almost any. So I'm not fundamentally opposed to this, but I think the city clerk's office and neighborhood council funding people will probably have a hissy fit. And from everything we can see of what we're hearing from Sacramento and the mayor's office and the county, they're not letting up. They've had a taste of power and ain't going to wait anytime soon. We have time to do this right. So I absolutely support the outreach committee's general idea in doing this, but we should get our ducks in a row. That's my 2 cents on it. And that's why I seconded the motion so we could have the discussion. Thank you.
Great.
Kirby has a comment.
Public comment by Patty Kirby. Patty, go ahead.
Hello, everybody. Just was interested in knowing what the masks are made of. Are they 3-layer masks, which is what the advice is on effectiveness for such a mask, material-wise? Question?
I'd have to refer that to my wife, who was in contact with the company who was doing it.
Doesn't sound like N95.
No, these would be cloth masks. They're made out of cloth.
Right. Well, they're saying that cloth masks should be 3 layers minimum.
May I ask respectfully, Michael, would you consider tabling this until January so that we could?
You guys can table anything you want.
Well, I'm just asking you as the outreach chair to then we could go through budget committee with this, and we could answer all those questions that we're hearing here as well, right?
Are you making a motion to table this, Lana?
I think Brian had some comments. I'd like to hear what and.
Sure. Let's start with let's go Mr. Brian Carroll, and then we'll go to Adam Summer, and then
just a quick note. I do want to echo what Lana has said, just in terms of like this going through a normal process. I totally support that. For this, though, I have no trouble and hope that we vote on this tonight. The difference here is, of course, that we are still in a pandemic, despite what some people may think. But we are there. We are voting on face masks, which are a high priority, maybe even more higher priority as we go into the winter, and our next meeting is in January. So it would, I don't know what the production timeline is for this, obviously, so I'm assuming a lot. But I mean, if these could go out with publicity while the masks are at a peak urgency as we go back into purple or we never left or whatever, I think getting these out there now would be fantastic. I think it's a great idea for us. I think it's win-win across the board. And I'd rather do it now than a few months down the road, whenever production is after that in January, is it March or whatever, and all of a sudden we're stuck with 1,000 unused face masks in our office. So I'd rather do it now.
I echo Brian.
Thank you, Alexa, for the echo. Thank you, Brian, for the comment.
As well.
And 2 echoes, Jesse Porter. I'll toss my echo in as well. So that's 3 cheers for Brian's comment. Adam Summer next, and then we'll go to Nancy Kramer, and then yes, Rick, I see you, no problem. So let's hear from Adam Summer.
Yeah, I completely agree with Brian. It's definitely time sensitive. Also, I just want to stress or iterate, we have so much unused money. I can't remember the last time we approved any big budget item. I think it's time we do some really good things with the money we do have on hand. Some of it may work, some of it may not, but you know, month after month we go without really passing anything that promotes.
Well, that's because we haven't had any of our funds released to us yet.
No, I'm just saying in this case, I think we're pushing it back 2 months until our next big meeting. I think it'd be really positive if we try to actually put some something forward, get some momentum moving for our council and do something positive. And instead of trying to stifle this with bureaucracy.
I'm not trying to stifle it.
Thank you.
Please don't get me
Lana,
wrong.
just let respectfully, if we can try to avoid some of the crosstalk and just let you've made your point. I think he's made his point.
Friendly amendments. Mr. President.
Let's hear the comments before we hear your friendly amendment.
Okay.
If you don't mind, others board members impatient. Nancy Kramer, go ahead.
I just want to remind the board here that it did not get fully discussed in committee. So there's been no stakeholder outreach on this topic in committee. I'm also slightly concerned. I love advertising, but I'm slightly concerned that we're not going to get to be in committee until January to actually discuss the implementation and roll out and how to do it. We're pushing anyway with timeline. But also, point of order, we're not doing, if it doesn't postpone, we table. We don't table, we postpone, if that comes up.
Okay, and Rick Rosner.
Echo, nearly 2,000 deaths in America today. The worst in 6.5 months, people dying at 5 times the rate that our people died in World War II. Worst week in history, worst month in history. So let's pump them out.
Okay, with that, we will.
Hello.
Hi, Richard. Go ahead, Richard Niederberg.
Okay. I basically did a little research and see if the $3.12 per each puts afoul of the regulations about giving away city money. In this case, it does not. Hamburgers from In-N-Out are more than that we give away. So I think we're okay on that. The other thing is, if we're going to do any kind of mailing is it possible to put the masks in the mailer without raising the postage cost? Michael?
Willing to look into it.
I think
The
it's
main
too
point of today
heavy.
is to get the money allocated so we can get something moving. And I'm not opposed to calling a special meeting or something like that of our outreach committee to hammer out some of these details, which all of you here are always welcome to attend. Doors are open. So we're happy to have a throwdown and hammer all this out in a special committee meeting whenever we can get to it. Nothing's going to be done behind closed doors. We are at outreach. We are as open as we try to be as open as we can be.
What was your distribution idea for the masks?
To hit initially hit the grocery stores and the farmers market on what we would promote as a Studio City Day and hand them out.
Thank you.
Great, let's move this to a vote, please.
Okay. Voting on motion 10A. Richard?
Outreach is outreach. I'm in favor.
Is that yes? Brian?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Randy?
Yes.
Alex? Alex?
He's asleep.
I don't like being ignored. Lisa?
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes.
Richard?
Yes, I hope the Studio City quality.
Jesse?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Lana?
I am going to state for the record, just because I'm the budget chair, I do not like the process that we are circumventing here. I do like the idea, and I am torn about whether I go forward with my positive vote because I like the idea, or I have to stick to my guns for the process. Can anybody help me with this?
Stick to your guns, you'll pass anyway.
Pass. I know
Correct.
it's going to pass.
Time to vote. Otherwise, you're abstaining.
Vote no, dear. Lana, you're absolutely right. Vote no.
Maybe I'll just abstain.
Okay.
There you go.
I will vote yes. And Adam?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Great, thank you very much. Agenda item number 11, we have a land use committee update by our illustrious land use chair, Lisa Karajian.
I don't know about illustrious, but yes, thank you. Hello, everyone. Just want to take a few minutes. And first and foremost, in this month of Thanksgiving, I just want to start out by saying thank you to my committee members, Lana Shackelford, Jesse Porter, Richard Niederberg, Randy Freed, Adele Slaughter, Dean Cutler, and unfortunately, Andrew Sussman had to resign, step down from the committee because he is sick. So let's keep him in our thoughts in a positive way. Having said that, I know this past year we had a lot of land use issues come forth that were some contentious and with a lot of stakeholder participation, one being the Harvard-Westlake issue. So I just want to take a moment and say thank you to all the stakeholders that have participated so far in that, and moving forward, I'm sure their voice is going to be front and center. That being said, I want to say thank you to Patrice Berlin, Patty Kirby, especially for keeping me on top of all that goes on with Harvard Westlake, with her emails and phone calls and text messages, as well as Peter Cole, Scott Mandel, let's see, Terry Austin, Adele Slaughter for taking the time to put together the advisory committee as well as she did, and for the very thorough report that she gave. In regard to Sportsman's Lodge, it's going to be an ongoing issue. We're looking at a launch of possibly April for the restaurants and Equinox and Erewhon. Again, very contentious issues there. Ben Besley not being like the stellar person that we all want him to be. Truthful, honest, but we hope that moving forward that he does step up. So again, I want to thank all the stakeholders who live in the area there for showing up and making their voice heard and keeping everyone in check. Aside from that, motion picture insurance MPI on Ventura Boulevard between Tahunga and Eureka has purchased a parking lot. Actually, a building sits on it now. They want to demolish the building and put a parking lot there. It came up in committee this past Wednesday. It was tabled because we were going to look into some of the issues that some stakeholders brought up. Having done that, I just want to say moving forward, since we are not going to be meeting next month and until January, if things shift within planning, I just want to put it out there and say they are not asking for any exceptions from the specific plan. So they are going to move forward, I'm very sure, with the plan that they have in place, with the recommendations from land use in regards to landscaping and such. Also, the president of the PRB, the Plan Review Board, Kathy Deladani, brought up an idea to bring some art using the art of some local artists and placing them in the vacant storefronts along Ventura Boulevard, all 17.5 miles of it, everywhere from Studio City, Cahuenga West, through Sherman Oaks, Encino, Tarzana, and Woodland Hills. Tarzana is launching that, I think, this month. So I just want to put it out there and say, if you do know any artists or any store owners, property owners that are interested in putting some art in this vacant storefronts during the holidays, just to bring some festive cheer to the boulevard. Instead of having empty storefronts up and down the boulevard, please send me an email or give me a phone call. Aside from that, I just want to say thank you to everyone. Happy holidays, and see you in the new year. Thank you.
Thank you. We have public comment. Goat Puppy, you are recognized for 2 minutes.
Well, one thing she forgot to mention, we lost our deli. No more Jerry's Deli. Another vacancy along the broken trail of tears of Cahuenga to Ventura Boulevard. Storefronts vacant more and more and more as you go up and down that boulevard. Failed businesses, lost dreams. That's what it is now. Yes, what a shame. And we want to put artwork in those broken live windows. So I think the appropriate thing to do is to make some very large billboards with a picture of a middle finger and put them up in all of those vacant storefronts. And as you drive down, you'll see, oh, that's the city where people elect a city council that hates businesses. And then you can play on the radio the theme song of the city of Los Angeles. Yes, as you drive down. Yes. The worst sales tax in America, the highest property taxes, 1.3375% property tax rate, the second highest in the United States. The worst city council ever. And you reelect them at 90%. They vote 99% with each other. One of them's on trial for 100 years. Mitchell Englander in January faces up to 5 years. We are so proud of ourselves here in this city. Have a happy, joyous holiday. Oh, you too, Mr. Goat. I'm a little sad, though, after that. I'm happy. I'm a goat. I like trouble. Thank you.
We have public comment from Scott Mandel. Go ahead, Scott.
Hi, Lisa. Thanks for the kind words. I did want to touch base on Sportsman's. We are dealing with Sportsman's on 2 separate projects, but the face of Sportsman's is the same face, the same slippery, deceiving and not outwardly honest person. And while I don't think the businesses and the shops that are coming to Sportsman's should be punished, I would like either the land use committee and or the board to try to use some leverage with Ben as far as Project Room Key to get him to be a bit forthcoming, Gesundheit.
Thank you, sorry.
Before the board approves any more motions that are favorable to shops. Thanks to Jessica Fugate, we now know that the quarantine and COVID issue at Sportsman's is in fact true. And as far as I've heard from Ben, he was, not to my knowledge, I'm not aware, I don't think so. And it's hard to square the fact that he really didn't know. And if he didn't know, he should have known that that was going on at Sportsman's. So again, I don't think we should punish the new businesses, but I think there has to be a smarter way to leverage a bit more openness and cooperation and honesty from Ben on the Project Room Key without giving away whatever leverage we might have as far as shops. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And unfortunately, Project Room Key and the shops at Sportsman's Lodge are 2 totally different entities, 2 different projects. So I can't, with all due respect, go after him for the shops and connect it to what's going on at Project Roomkey. Now, the board, the president, Randy Freed, and the board can bring up issue, the safety committee, the public safety committee can bring up issue with Project Roomkey and bring that forth. But with land use, it just doesn't coincide.
Thank you, Lisa. There's one more. Actually, I don't. Public comment is closed. Is there any board comment? I see a hand up from Richard Adams. Go ahead.
I pass.
Okay, thank you very much. Moving along to agenda item number 12, bylaws committee. Save the best for last.
All right, motion. The Studio City Neighborhood Council approves the creation of a new standing committee named the Business Community Committee. Operating procedures would be updated accordingly. This motion was brought to us, requested by Richard Adams, who will be speaking shortly after I do speak. There's two comments I want to make about this, or maybe three. First of all, we're in desperate need of getting businesses that have shut down, getting businesses back into Studio City. And to have that spearheaded might not be a bad idea. But we have to also consider the overlap. We're now going to have huge overlap with this committee and land use, and it needs to be addressed before we get into trouble from the top. And we have an open business seat rep right now that maybe we can use this as a tool to reach out to business people to be considered for rep on the board. Richard, go ahead. We're not.
I tell you what, let's do public comment on this first. Let's get that out of the way. Hear from our stakeholders and what they have to say. I shouldn't say get that out of the way. Let's hear their opinions on this, and then we will hear from Richard. Hang on for 30 seconds, and then we'll get the public. Let's get the public comment, and then you'll talk, and the board can discuss, and we'll vote. Starting with Goat Puppet, you have 2 minutes. Go ahead.
Yeah, so one of the people we can trust is Richard Adams, because you heard his heartfelt discussion of the bathroom issue. And I mean, a man that would talk about that publicly, that we all are getting older and it's getting harder to hold it, you know. And so I think about, if you can do that, I think he can definitely lead on this issue. I think it's a good thing. And it's not about holding it, it's about somewhere to empty it. Yes. So I would also recommend that we have a business community meeting ad hoc involving access to bathrooms and creating an app where you can just go on your phone with a GPS and type in bathroom, and then it will locate the nearest bathroom. I think this is a good thing, and I'm glad we're having this discussion, because it's not the $700 million budget deficit that's important. It's not the fact that COVID, it's the fact that we need a place to go. Thank you so much.
Talk about damned with faint praise.
I believe Barry has public comment.
Yes, if with all due respect, if there is a business community committee, then there should be a renters committee, a homeowners committee, and a community organization committee. The great thing about our current committees is that they represent all stakeholders. This is the way it should be. We shouldn't have committees for individual stakeholder groups. And I feel all our existing committees are in a position to help foster our business community at this point in time. Thank you.
Randy, you're muted.
Try that again. Richard, you wanted to say something? You can just go ahead. And then...
Well, Mr. Johnson, Barry and I have worked together in this neighborhood council for nigh on 2 decades, which will annoy certain members of the current board. He has valid points. I would also point out that the city charter that created the neighborhood councils and that created the employee and business owners and business property owners seats imply that the neighborhood council has a duty to weigh in on the issues that affect that community, which are different than the residents that are homeowners or renters, etc. And we're not trying to be, I'm not suggesting we'd be anything different. I'm just saying that the business owners in Los Angeles, even before the Chi-Com crowd came along, were under incredible pressure, incredible stress, and having a hard time making a living. And now it's just gone to 11, if not 12. And just, we have business seats. We have business property owner seats. We have business employee seats. We have done nothing else as a board to represent these people, to give them a voice. And I have talked with now former city employees who tried desperately to bring the viewpoints, the issues, and the problems of those people to the rest of the city government that they work for. And we're told basically, we don't care. These people need a formal channel to bring whatever individual or group issues they have, whether it be what's the Recycla VA or whatever, with the city allowed monopolies for trash collection. Their prices went through the roof. You're a restaurant, you have to have trash collection 7 days a week, and suddenly it's like, how much do a week, a day? No. We owe our stakeholders of every spectrum the maximum viewpoint, the maximum microphone, the maximum megaphone to get their point across, and the maximum access to the people above them in the hierarchy where they might have some chance to get their voice put across. I am willing to put all my free time, all my free effort, all my energy into this. I would ask other people to join me. I'm fairly certain, I'm sure I can get other people in the community to support me. They're all standing by to wait to see what happens. I'm putting my money where my mouth is, and I'm putting my ass on the line. I'm asking you to support me. And if it doesn't work, you can all laugh at me.
Brian Carroll, please go ahead.
Without passing judgment on the merits itself, it's just hard to go one way or the other without really knowing what the mission would be. In how it, like you mentioned, how it does overlap with like land use and even the Studio City Chamber of Commerce. That's all I would say. It's like I'd rather know more about this before weighing in on it, because right now it's kind of vague.
Thank you, Brian. Lana Ford.
Hey, so was there any thought about in making it like an ad hoc under land use as opposed to a standing committee? Because I really did like what Barry Johnson proposed, and maybe it would be time that we had standing committees for renters and businesses and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know if we, at this time in, with these emergencies going on, have that effort that we can devote to support that development of those types of committees right now. But what about starting as an ad hoc committee. I like what Brian had to say about about the justifications of where they would belong. I don't know. I'm just making statements. I would love to hear more thoughts on this. I think it's all in a positive way to get people more involved and to really focus on making our businesses stronger, making our, the number of people that live in rent-controlled apartments and non-rent-controlled apartments, making sure that they have places to live and there are places to go and patronize as well as residents. I'm talking too much. It's too late. Thanks.
Any other board comments? Richard Niederberg.
It won't unmute. Okay. No, I just think that not a bad idea. It's you're gonna have to work out how it integrates with everything else. Also, I'd very much like to have the empty seat on the board be filled because it's pertinent to this particular idea. We might get the absolute best person possible who already has this whole idea under control. Just an idea.
Thank you, Richard. Before we go to a vote, I'll just simply say that I think it's worth noting that Ms. Karajian regularly speaks with our bid in our chamber. I regularly speak with our bid. Obviously, some of you here own businesses. We all frequent businesses here in Studio City. And I personally agree with Barry that actually what Barry was saying was not that we should have a specific committee for each category, but that we all represent that as a whole as the board. And I think there's personally, I would say we have enough trouble staffing our existing committees. And I mean, gosh, God bless Richard Niederberg. I think he serves on every committee. And his input is valuable, but also shows us that we don't have a big bench to pull from. So that's just kind of my concern. And with that, let's please move this to a vote. Alexa.
Okay, roll call vote on motion 12A. Richard?
Sorry, I had that unmuted. I thought it was muted. Despite all the negative comments, yes.
Brian?
No.
Michael?
It's a no for me.
Randy?
No.
Alex? That was no, I think. Rodriguez on here. Lisa? Lisa?
My apologies again. Sorry. No.
Nancy?
Yes.
Richard?
Not yet.
Not yet, so that's a no.
Yes.
Jesse?
You asked for. Okay.
No, not yet.
Rick?
Cute.
Abstain.
Rick?
Abstain. Am I muted? No.
No, I can hear you.
Okay.
Lana?
No.
I am going to vote yes. And Adam?
No.
Motion fails.
Ladies and gentlemen, I wish all of you a happy, healthy, safe Thanksgiving. Of course, if there's something urgent that you feel a committee needs to review and our board needs to meet, I will just reserve the right, if you will. You may be out of town, like in your living room or backyard, and
With four people.
may not be able to meet. I know I pushed for it last year. And in the end, we had actually a great conversation, but we couldn't do anything because we didn't have a quorum. So if something comes up, my email is always available. But other than that, I wish all of you truly, first, thank you. It's been a crazy year. And really, it's always a pleasure to see all of your faces. I hope soon we can all see each other in person again, and have a good night.
Quick comment. Quick
Bye.
I gave up being safe the day I enlisted in the